you're anything like me, when you were a child, you read a lot of books all the time and you loved it. And then as you got into middle school and high school, it kind of fell to the wayside. You haven't been reading as much, and it's something that is very nostalgic and that you miss, that you'd love to get back into somehow. Today, I'll be giving you my 5 tips for getting back into reading and making sure that you're actually enjoying it and getting the most out of it. So my first tip is just to change the way you think about reading. I think a lot of times nowadays we think of reading as this elusive goal, some sort of healthy thing. I see people treat it a lot like they treat running, where it's something that you're kind of supposed to do if you want to be happy and healthy, but it's hard to motivate yourself. It might be difficult to find the time. We come up with all sorts of excuses to not do it, and we end up feeling bad about it and resenting it. So it's imperative that you change the way that you think about reading so that you're not mysticizing it into some unattainable thing. Before I got back into it, I saw reading as kind of like this idyllic sort of thing where you have to have the right circumstances and you have to set it up nicely. You have to be like drinking tea, it has to be snowing. It becomes sort of like a ceremonial kind of thing, and it becomes less about the actual reading and reading for the love of reading. So yeah, just kind of breaking down that barrier of like idealism, I want to say. There's some sort of like protective casing that we put around reading, trying to like preserve its integrity. No, like read whenever you want, however you want. The situation does not matter. Just sort of treating it in a more casual way really opens up a lot of doors when it comes to reading more. So tip number 2 is to find books that you actually like. If you like reading, you're not going to have to try as hard to make yourself read. If you have to make yourself read, you're not reading the right books. Go tell your English teacher, whatever. If you're finding it really hard to get started, just try going to a bookstore, seeing what catches your attention. Maybe ask your friends who you know have similar tastes to you. Just look for something that intrigues you. Maybe it's something that no one you know has ever read, and that makes it specifically yours, and you can have more of a connection with it that way. Just really try experimenting, find what you like, and then all the other tips will become so much easier. That is like a basic fundamental thing. Like I love watching like productivity YouTubers and stuff, and they'll always tell me like, read like this self-help book, this self-help book, this financial book, whatever. That's not what I want to read. That's not what I gravitate towards. That's not what gets me excited. I'm more excited about like fantasy and fiction, and that's more my speed. And so that's what I read. So do some soul searching, look within yourself, and figure out what you like, because reading is not worth it if you're not enjoying it. My next piece of advice is to treat reading the way that you treat scrolling. So like, if you're on the bus or waiting in line or in the elevator, like wherever you might be that you would normally pull out your phone and start scrolling, just do that with a book instead. Because when you think about it, like scrolling through social media is vertical, and then flipping through a book is just horizontal. It's the same thing. Again, you don't have to create the perfect conditions, just do it whenever you have the time. Depending on your reading speed, all you really need is like 2 minutes to get through a page. And if you're getting through a page, then that is immediately more than you were doing before, which is the important thing. Just filling in those empty moments that you would normally pick up your phone, those add up. In past months, I would have like 8 hours a day on my phone, and I would just be like, where did that time even come from? It blew my mind when it first happened. Then when it kept happening, I was like, holy crap, like where am I finding the time to be on my phone? Once I figured out where I was spending time on my phone and what scenarios that was, I just replaced it with a book. And now I'm reading, multiple pages a day, and it's super fun. For me, it was actually a little bit embarrassing to read in public recently, just because since I love fantasy, sometimes the covers of fantasy books look just wicked nerdy. I was very afraid of the judgment that I would get for reading it. Like a lady with a dress and a sword and these colors coming out of her mouth. Like that's some nerdy stuff right there. And I was a bit nervous to like read it in public. Most people, when they see other people reading in public, don't look down on them. If anything, they might look up to them for actually reading. That self-consciousness for me, I've slowly been getting over, and I'm sure that pretty soon I won't really care at all. And I don't want you to think that I'm putting reading over like social media. I don't think either is inherently good or bad. It's just that I personally wanted to be reading more, and so I've been gradually switching to more reading than social media. If you want to do the other way, go for it. Your consumption is your consumption. It's all consumption. It doesn't matter. Okay, this next piece of advice, it took me a while to figure out, but I'm so glad I did. A great way to read a book that's a bit harder for you to pick up is to use it as a toilet book. A toilet book is any book that you leave in the bathroom, and whenever you go into the bathroom to, take a dump or whatever you gotta do, you just pick up that book and read a couple pages. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time doing it. In fact, you probably shouldn't. It's just there so that you can get through it. For me, I was reading How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, which was an awesome book when I started it, and I really enjoyed it. But the only reason I got through it was because I eventually switched it over to being a toilet book, just because it was taking me a while to get through and I wasn't feeling as motivated with it. So by having it on the toilet and just reading a few pages each time, I slowly worked my way through it. So that's a great strategy that to me is indispensable. You can put your books wherever you want to, where you're going to read them, but the toilet worked for me. And my final tip, which is arguably the most fun and most important, is to start interacting with other people who like the same books as you. There's a great book community on YouTube. There's great book community on TikTok. Literally any social media platform, you can find people who like what you like and talk about that stuff. For me, that was something that was very valuable, because when I like to read very thick fantasy books, not a whole lot of my friends or family are going to want to, catch up to me in order to be able to talk about it. So being able to connect over social media with other people who like those books was just so much fun for me and enhanced my reading experience. So whether you're into fantasy like I am, or classics or self-help, nonfiction of any kind, there's going to be a community out there somewhere who's willing to take you in and talk to you about this stuff. On Reddit especially, there were like meme pages dedicated to my favorite series and all that stuff. So it's so much fun. Once you start getting into it, once you know what you like, there's just this whole world of opportunity to meet and connect with other people with similar interests. So to summarize, you should change the way you think about books to be more casual, more flexible. The next is to find the books you like. Reading is going to be so much easier when you actually enjoy it. Treat reading the way that you treat scrolling. It's pretty much the same thing. You're just consuming a story. It's casual. Just do it in public. Do it wherever you want. Use toilet books. That way you can get through books that are a little harder for you to pick up in your everyday life, and you have sort of a set time that you're going to be reading. And finally is to engage with the community around your favorite books. It'll enhance your experience, it'll enhance theirs, and maybe you'll make some friends. So thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, I'm Sam Cody. I do vlogs and shoe reviews, so if you're into that, make sure you hit subscribe for more awesome videos like this one. Comment down below what your favorite book is. Maybe I'll pick some of them up. I'll leave a couple of mine down there as well, and we can talk about some books. So thank you again for watching, and until next time, peace.